You are in a pit of rants. This one's for MOL352, who says, rant about a subject that few would think you are knowledgeable about. Honestly, I can't pick one because, I love watching analytical videos about everything. So there's tons of just, full genres, particularly of video games. I know way more about video games than anybody would think because I'm not very good at video games and I don't play them all the time. But I love learning about them. I grew up with video games. I love video games conceptually. I'm just very picky about what games I actually get invested in. I'll probably start playing more video games again in the future as I restructure my workflow, because the biggest reason that I don't play more games is that it's difficult to write about video games without playing through an entire game, which takes a long time to figure out what you want to say about it or be able to approach it holistically. And I don't have any games that I've continued to come back to over and over again over the years besides Phantasy Star Online. So it's difficult for me to justify my time spent playing games because it's so hard to turn it into work directly, and people don't respect my opinions about video games a lot of the time because they assume I don't know much about them because I don't play them all the time, even though, again, I consume massive amounts of information about video games. I watch way more games analysis than anything else, always have. I know way more about game history. I could categorically probably name several hundred games for every console that anybody cares about in particular, I shouldn't say that because there are some consoles that people care very much about that I definitely don't know much about, but I still watch the videos about those consoles. I sit around and watch all these boomers talk about the whole history of the fucking PC engine and shit like that. So when it comes to video games or music, those are both categories where I have just tons and tons and tons of knowledge that I have not found any way to really apply to my career. And every time I've attempted, it's kind of fallen flat. I have tons and tons of knowledge about... I know a lot about... I can't say I know a lot about food. I eat lots of different food. I can tell you lots about what is on the menu at restaurants, but not about how food is actually made or what goes into it, anything like that. What else do I know a lot about that people would not assume? I feel like people would assume a lot of the things that I do know about, and that I have lots of just weird incidental particular knowledge that can come up at weird moments, where it's I find myself in a situation where I've read something about this, or I happen to have seen it in, again, because I consume lots of analytical videos, lots of analytical writing, just people describing the cool things about stuff. It's even if I don't consume the stuff, wrestling, that's actually probably the best possible example. Because of endless Jess, and because of how much people talk about wrestling online, I know way more about wrestling than I possibly should, because I've literally only watched 2 or 3 wrestling events ever, in full, a couple of Royal Rumbles. I know, aside from that, I've watched all the Broken Matt saga, so, if you consider that to be watching wrestling, because it's mostly digital videos, but, I know a lot about wrestling history because of all the people who talk about it. No experience watching it almost at all, but it's fascinating to hear the stories, so, I could probably name, 40 to 50 wrestlers that I could not tell you, anything they've ever done. I just happen to know, how they're relevant to one another, I guess. Anyway, that's that.